Good day, this is Jimmy. We're going into the video Fiasco to fabrication. We've got a 1970 K5 Blazer, and if you've been following along, the floor pan that the customer brought in doesn't fit. It's 7 inches too long. We're taking it and we're going to take this problem, this Fiasco, and we're going to turn it into a fabrication video. Also, we've got a DIY trick I'm going to show you in this video. But as you go along the video and get closer to the end, I have 2 great old school tricks that are very important. Took me years to learn, but you can learn them today just by watching this video. Hey, stick around.
Also, maybe it had a standard in it or something. Like I said, it's not the right one. However, to get it in here, had to cut it. So I'm getting the front lined up. When I get the front lined up, we're going to go in and take this piece and bring it in here. And this will have to be moved up somewhat to be in place. This is not only just it's also some bracing and stuff that holds that floor pan up into place. Like I say, we're dropping out about 6 inches of this floor pan to put it in here. But we're going to begin by cutting this one in the best we can to get just as close as we can to factory fit. May have to do a little something right there. But at this point, the front of that, well, it'll be interesting. But it's child's play compared to this. We'll cut this back. All right, let me start that process. All right, because this didn't fit, I've cut it kind of roughly in there where it will fall in this groove. But roughly is not going to get it right now. We're going to try to do a little better. I'm going to cut through there. Then I'm also going to come to the back side of it, which I still got open. And I'm going to put this scissor back in it. And I'm going to push pressure against it. First, I'm going to run my cutting wheel down through there. Try to get an even line. Then I'm going to put that pressure on it and push it up. And I might take the cutting wheel and dress it just a little bit more. And probably weld that solid. So let me get set up on this. All right, we're tightening up the front of this thing. Gonna put a makeshift, put some pressure on it and push it up and close this gap. Let me show you this gap I'm talking about. I'm gonna trim it in. And as I trim that in, I've got that car jack in the back and I'm cranking on it, pushing it up tight. When I get it tight enough, I'm gonna weld it solid. Wasn't paying attention. Don't let me get sparks on you there. I'm definitely sparking up my camera here. Just, working right along. Sometimes we do those things, but it's looking good. It's looking good. About to get ready to weld it. Might put a little more pressure on it, but moving right along. It was so far off right there on that corner, I had to take about a 1/2 inch off of it to get it to fall in the groove. Gonna apply a little pressure to push it down and tack it as I go, because it's just a little high right there, but we're gonna get it all in there level so we can weld it all the way across. As you see, I believe in hydraulics and percussion mechanics, but sometimes that's what it takes to get it done. All right, we'll go around the other side. I'm gonna let that pressure off of it. We're gonna walk that in one piece at a time. Let's get a little bit of a picture. All right, zip that in. Gonna make it solid. It's looking pretty good. Gotta do a little something right there, but gonna have to tie both sides in like this so we can figure out what this distance is. In the back here, I'm gonna take this pressure apparatus out, put it on the other side, and kind of do some symmetry over there before we can get back here. All right, I'm gonna drop this in before we get too far ahead. All right, just tying the front end up. Gonna weld it all the way across. Got a little bit of metal replacement right there on the top side, but I'm gonna weld this all the way across. Laying it in. Over here, I've got it tied in pretty good. Probably gonna go do some reworking right here. We'll just see how this pans out. It's a little ridge. It probably don't need to be there. The fuel pedal's up here on this, and that probably bolted right there. Probably was a long pedal on the Suburban. But we're going to tie that in. Make this pan, but the main thing I'm getting ready to do now is take this piece right here and work it in here. Gonna take a few measurements and stuff, get this thing some type of system in my mind here, and we're gonna go with it. As we said, not the right one, but we're gonna Marty McFly this thing in here. We're gonna put it in there. We're gonna put it in there solid, and it's gonna fit. Okay, I'm beginning to put the back piece in on this floor pan. I pulled a measurement from tip to here. across this piece that we're putting in. Drop back, so we may do an overlap right here. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but I'm going to cut it across there. But I did leave the bracing in all the way up to the point right here where it ties in. So what I'm going to do when I cut this, I'm also going to drill those welds out, or file those welds out. So just remove this piece and leave that bracing. But in order for this to fit, this bracing will have to be removed. So I'm gonna lay my belt sander out and we're gonna get to work. Now, just like that piece that you could visually see, that bracing, there's a brace underneath this piece that we're going to remove, and it's welded to this actual piece. So right now we're cutting those spot welds loose. We've got to do it on both sides as we're cutting this piece out, and those, we're leaving those braces long so they will fill that spot where we took that other one out. Now we're going to squeeze them down and weld them so the front pan will be as down as low as it needs to go before we install this piece. But that's what I was belt sanding. I'll have to even go on the other side and do that also. I remember watching a fellow video guy, Ian Russell, which used to be with Full Customs. He said they'd go to commercial and come back and everything was fixed. In the process, it may take 2 days to get there. I want to let you know, if you're going to do something, it's going to take a little hard work and time. Got to cut a few inches off of the back of that rail right there. I mean, there's no instruction manual here. We have to fabricate as we go. Gonna pull it back a little bit, stick it in there. Maybe we've got enough off of it. I believe we're gonna just keep on till we get it going on. Kind of got it laid down there and getting ready to clamp it down, but on each corner I'm cutting some relief cuts so it won't be too tight. It'll stretch out and it'll go down on there. It's just as tight as I possibly can get it, but it's gonna, in my mind anyway, I think it's gonna take those relief cuts to make it work. That's gonna be my first step for pulling it down. All right, we're getting an overlap, but the first problem that we're going to have is pushing that up tight. Bringing that up. See, that's the old marks, the old weld. We got to bring that up and close that gap. Now, there's a trick to it. That side is almost going up, but something's hindering me over here. Don't quite know what it is, but I'm fixing to do an old welder's trick. I'm going to cut a dog to go right here, and I'm going to drive a wedge in there between, and it's going to push it back. So this is a big deal when you're working on heavy metals, and this is pretty heavy. This is not something that's just going to push around real easy. We're going to push that back with that dog. So stay tuned, fixing to cut that out.
All right, I just got a piece of an old bed frame here. It's got a corner in it. You could take a plate metal or whatever, but you need to come up with something just like I'm fixing to show you when I get this cut out. It's just a corner. It's something that I can weld down and run a wedge under, but I'll show you in detail how this thing's gonna work and what it looks like.
Now this is what I'm going to be calling a dog right here.
I've cut these things out of 1/2-inch plate and pressed down 1/2-inch plate with chisels. This is just a couple pieces of angle iron that were in that corner. Got a little tack here and there. Maybe they'll hold together. Maybe I won't have to tack it anymore, but I think I can do this whole panel with this one dog. I'm going to go on and weld it down. I'm going to weld it one way. And as you weld something, if you weld one side, weld only holds one way. So when you get ready to take it off, you can tap it from the other side and it will break loose. But you'll have to see that to believe it, because that's another trick of welding.
Back. Now the reason I only welded it on one side, and it may break from there, but I welded on one side because weld only holds one way. When I get that pushed back, I can tap that and it'll come right off.
It's hard to see from my video in here, but what I'm doing after I've got it welded on, I'm taking a cold chisel and driving it between that and that plate and pushing that plate back with that cold chisel. I've got a few more clips on different places where I've used it to give you a better picture, but that's what's going on here. Fiasco to fabrication. That's how to get it done. Hey, like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. Thank you for watching.